So the true sunrise is a sunrise from the east, and a false sunrise would be a sunrise from the west. And then that the sun would rise from the west. Now wait a minute. The sun rising from the west is one of the signs of the end of history, not of the end of the world. The end of the world comes when all of this material universe is going to be transformed. The word in the Quran is tabdeel, into that which is ghayrul ardi was samawat. Something different from this. And that is the end of the world, when the mountains will be like pieces of wool, and the graves, the earth will pitch out of its bowels. The graves, the people will come out of their graves, the resurrection. That is the end of the world. No one knows when that will take place. No one. How long after the end of history will it take place? Don't ask me, because I don't know. But the sun rising from the west is not a sign of the end of the world. The sun rising from the west is a sign of alamatus sa'ah, of the end of history. The Quran tells me, and my eyes also tell me, that the sun rises from the east. And the Quran tells me that Allah's creation does not change. No. Except that there will come a day when this entire material universe is going to be subjected to something called tabdeel. And it will be transformed into something which will be ghayr al-ardi was samawat. So I'm not talking about that event, when the earth is going to pitch out of its bosom all of its burdens, and the earth is going to speak on that day. We're talking about previous to that event. The sun is going to rise from the east in accordance with the Quran, not from the west. And so I understand it to be symbolic language, not to be literally understood. But you don't have to accept my view. No. That the sun would rise from the west. In the Quran, Ibrahim alayhi salam is having a confrontation with a ruler. And the ruler says, "Why should I worship your Lord?" And Ibrahim alayhi salam says, "My Lord gives life and takes life." So the ruler said, "But so do I. So do I." Meaning, I can give the order and your life will be taken. And I can spare you. So I can give life and I can take life. To which Ibrahim alayhi salam responded and said, "Well, my Lord causes the sun to rise from the east. Why don't you cause it to rise from the west?" My Lord causes the sun to rise from the east. If you are truthful, why don't you cause it to rise from the west? So the true sunrise is a sunrise from the east, and a false sunrise would be a sunrise from the west. But Allah also says in the Quran, "La tabdila li khalqillah," that there is no change in Allah's creation.
And so we get the scientific principle of the uniformity of nature. Hadith says that the sun will rise from the west. And now we are inundated. The emails keep coming regularly about some gravitational change in the polar structure of the world, and scientific terms Imran Hossein doesn't understand. And they've been coming after me, struggling and struggling and struggling. I don't know who is paying them to do it, to convince me that the sun is actually going to rise from the west, literally. And that's what the hadith says, it's going to rise from the west, literally. And my response is, if that's your belief, well, so be it. I'm afraid I don't agree with you. Would you kindly allow me to hold on to the Quran?
And because I have given my opinion, I get so many emails, I don't have time to reply to them now. I said the Quran sits in judgment over the Hadith. Quran and Hadith do not have the same status. No, sir. And if a Hadith is in conflict with the Quran, then I am going to stay with the Quran. You could do what you want. You could even fly to Washington. When there is a conflict with the Quran and the Hadith, I choose to stay with the Quran. You can do what you want. This is my choice. And the Quran tells me that the sun rises in the east. And the Hadith is saying that the sun will rise from the west. What was I saying all the time? East? The Hadith tells us that one of the signs of the last days is that the sun will rise from the west, not the east, the west. The Quran tells us that the sun rises from the east. That's what the Quran says. And the Quran also says, لا تبديل لخلق الله. And my understanding, لا تبديل لخلق الله is simple Arabic. Nothing complicated, nothing sophisticated, nothing ambiguous. لا تبديل لخلق الله. There is no change or tabdeel in Allah's creation. And so I reject the belief that the sun can literally rise from the west. I reject it. But if you want to believe that it will literally rise from the west, that's your choice, not mine. We don't have to pick up boxing gloves over that. And so I say that the sun rising from the west has to be understood symbolically, not literally. That there is a sunrise that will come to the world at the end of history. A glamorous sunrise. But it will be a false sunrise.
And I understand that to be that the world is going to experience what is in fact a false sunrise. A new world order coming into being, which will be exactly opposite to the one that Allah created. Exactly opposite in everything to what Allah has ordained. And I say that world has already come into being. Yes, it's modern Western civilization which today has taken control of the world.
This is the sun rising from the west that we're talking about. What modern Western civilization has delivered to the world and now has trapped all of mankind in it.